how can we be more like Jesus if we don't really know what sort of person he is? So reading the Bible is really important for me.
In terms of having a relationship with God and a relationship with anybody, you can't really ever do that without speaking to them. So prayer is just basically having a conversation with God, and that's really important to me.
I think studying the Word of God is really important, and I think it's something we should all do. But I think what is more important than that is making sure that the Word of God is something that can soak into your heart, and not just something of knowledge in your head.
I do make it a discipline of mine to always be conscious of those on the fringes. I am that person, that annoying person. If someone's sitting on their own, I've just got to go up to them.
Spending time in the garden, and just knowing that there's so much more going on out there.
One is fasting. I found it really useful as somebody who really likes food. So I've tried fasting on different occasions and fasting from different things, and it's really helped me to just be still and to listen and hear from God.
I think I'm quite a busy person. I know that we're all quite busy these days, aren't we? But I think sometimes it can make just sitting still in God's presence really difficult. I know that's something that I really struggle with, and it's been a real challenge for me. But I'd say that just sitting still in God's presence and learning to just be still is something that has really helped me to grow in my awareness and understanding of God's presence with me throughout the day.
I think the discipline of just being still and giving God some time in the day. There's so much around us to bombard us, to distract us, so many noises and voices, but just taking that time where we can just be quiet and be still before the Lord.
Me, I personally feel I worship God best when I'm working for Him, and I think that is really powerful form of worship. I think service is a powerful form of worship because it's what He calls us to do, and that's where I feel worshiping God and honouring Him the most, by doing for others.
Yeah, worship can simply be offering the day to God.
I love worship. I'm from the Caribbean, I'm Jamaican, and when I remember what He's done for me, I can't help it but worship. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's loud.
I feel many times we think worship, we limit worship to just a service or a song or a physical action, but ultimately I believe the truest, purest form of worship is obedience. So when we are being and doing what God has called us to do, that's obedience, that's worship. When we lay down our desires, what we want to do, and go after God and what He calls us to do, true worship is expressed when we love one another. That's what God has commanded us, to love one another, and when we do it, that's obedience to His command, and that's real worship.
Just sitting in the lounge, putting some music on over the speakers, and either singing along or just listening to it flow through. Going for walks, just seeing God's amazing creation that He's given to us, enjoying and marvelling at what He's done.
So there's three of us in my family. We're a family of a trio, and we all sing. My husband sings, my daughter sings, and I sing. And so for us, singing is a really big thing in our family.
Quite often I have hymns come into my head. It could be things that I haven't heard for a long time, and the words just resonate.
I really like to worship God by singing. I'm a musician, so I'm probably a little bit biased, but I think sung worship, both on my own, but especially corporately, is really important. I think there's something about singing about the truth of who God is, of what He's done for us, and how much He loves us. There's something about singing those truths over one another that I think can just be really encouraging for us.
Yeah, I love worshipping as a collective with others. It's helpful to see other people worship in helping me get into things and spurring me on in faith.
When I worship, I don't worship for other people to notice me, but if I can inspire somebody else in their worship, and just the same way other people inspire me to worship.
But for me, contemplating what it is that his body was broken for us is a really important part of communion.
That was real. He really died for me. He shed his blood and gave up his body for me.
Communion for me is a reminder that I'm saved, and because Jesus died for me, I can live a different and full life through his salvation.
The sacrament of Holy Communion is really a reflection on our relationship with God. It's a symbol of covenant, of promise, of commitment, of an oath, in a sense, what God has done for us, and just an opportunity for us to think on and reflect on God's grace, and an opportunity for us to kind of recommit and renew our commitment to the Lord.
It makes me feel like we're all one. It doesn't matter our differences, where we're coming from, we're all one.
You know that there are other people around the world and in other parts of Birmingham who are all doing the same.
Yeah, Jesus did it, so I think we should do it as well.